stage another one of our fantastic voice actors. He has been there since Generation 1, ladies and gentlemen, playing Dinobots. No! And playing Insecticons. Come on, it's like proper panel here. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the Predator himself. It's Mr. Hal Rayle!
No, please.
Don't stop.
Quilton at the Hilton, and we're transforming in the aisles. Quilton at the Hilton, and a face all full of smiles. No?
Yeah!
Hey! Well, lick themselves.
So, I suppose the big question is, what's your problem with quilters?
They're Decepticons.
We haven't got any quilters snuck in, have we?
No. We're not slamming quilters here.
Hello, UK! How are you?
I can see we're just quiet. That's what we are.
People need to be woken up, I think, a little bit.
Yes. Goose the energy.
So, welcome to TF.Nation 2017.
Thank you very much.
Been here for 2 days, but I'm just welcoming you now, so it's great.
It's about time somebody said it. I'm feeling just a little bit separated.
So, I always start these panels with a really easy question. You ready?
Give me a minute.
Yeah, okay. So, who is Hal Rayle?
Oh, that's a question I've been trying to answer for a long time. When I was 3 years old, I told my mother when I grow up I want to do cartoon voices. She told me I watched too much television. Has anybody in this room ever heard that?
Yeah.
Well, it's not true. There's no such thing. Not if it's good television.
So you were watching from an early age?
Oh, yeah. You know, who I am is, I'm pretty much just this guy who shows up and says, what do you need? And then kind of an all-purpose weapon they used to bring, because in Hollywood you got, most of you got jobs to do 3 voices for the price of 1. So it was good if you had voice separation, so they would call in people that they could say, okay, now, like in Back to the Future, I was the dog, Einstein. So that gave me 2 other characters per episode that I could play in the show, and gave them more casting ability. So who I am is whoever you need me to be.
So if we've got Hal here, who's the other 2 we're getting?
Oh, the other 2, that's a mystery. It's surprise number 1, and what's behind the curtain. Keep looking.
I'm a bit terrified now, ladies and gentlemen. Something's going to come under the table or something like that.
Oh, that's surprise number 3.
Alright, we're getting up to it.
Alright, serious faces now.
Yeah, okay. Yes, right. Okay.
Give the governor a harumph. Harumph.
So, watching TV from an early age, what were you watching back then? What was inspiring?
Well, I was fortunate. I got to work with Dawes Butler, who was Huckleberry Hound and Yogi Bear and all these characters from Hanna-Barbera and Rocky and Bullwinkle. And those are my favorites. I think Aesop's Fables, Rocky and Bullwinkle, Flintstones, of course, Jetsons, Johnny Quest. Like that. In fact, one of the characters I did on G.I. Joe was a takeoff on Hachi, who was Johnny's friend. I played Chief Ali, who was the Prince of the Desert Sands, who was just like Hachi from Johnny Quest, but don't tell Johnny.
So, from an early age, you want to be a voice actor. Never a deviation, always, that's what I want to do with my life.
Well, you know, the deviation was my parents told me no, and that I was wasting my time and that I was a dreamer. But for all you dreamers out there, it is not a waste of time. if you have a love, if you have a passion, if you have a desire for something, make that your goal. I mean, I came from a town of 1,200 people. Nearest movie theater was 40 miles, and I made it to Hollywood and made it in the voice business. So if I can do that, you can all accomplish anything you set your mind to. And if I'm elected, I promise lower taxes and free toilets. I had them as free toilets.
I was going to say, the taxes I'm not interested in, but your toilet policy intrigues me.
It's called Plant More Trees. What, too soon? Oh. Keep them coming.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's all right, don't worry. I'm trying to think, do I just segue or just go in the complete opposite direction? Talk us through then. You're wanting to be a voice actor at an early age. Where do you start then? Where did the performances start for you? Are you in school?
Well, I was always an impressionist, and I also was able to do a lot of animals. But I had cancer at 26 and lost most of my back. That's kind of why I sit here like this. But it took that for me to say, oh, maybe I should commit, because I don't know how long I'm going to be on this rock. But that was 36 years ago, so I'm still here. And don't let something like that be what turns you around to follow your passion. Follow your passion regardless. But that is what made me really kind of go like, okay, I'm going to really do this. But I had never done a play. I never had any coaching or anything like that. I just had a natural knack for doing impersonations. A lot of Dawes Butler cartoons, you know, Huckleberry Hound and Yogi Jay, all those characters. And then when I worked with Dawes, he helped me realize where you can go within your body to adjust your voice so you can have things like vocal separation. So hopefully when I'm doing one character, it doesn't sound like the other character doing another voice. Hopefully last night, snarl wasn't shrapnel and shrapnel wasn't snarl, and neither one of them were pipes. Oh! I'll give you a lifetime to stop that.
Thank you. So you've said a few times that you're an impressionist. How much trouble did that get you into at school?
Well, actually, you know, if you do the right impressions, it's pretty fun. I mean, at the time I was doing a lot of Richard Nixon, and he wasn't real popular, so it was great for me to make fun of him. I was doing a lot of Howard Cosell and Muhammad Ali, which were big. Howard Cosell, speaking of sport, Muhammad Ali, I'm the greatest could be. Ain't no better than Muhammad Ali. Yes, thank you. That was when sports was sports. You may quote me on that if you choose.
So, 26, off to Hollywood.
Yes.
Where do we start?
Well, I moved there. They chewed me up and spit me out. Moved away. Put my finances together. Moved again. They spit me out. Moved away again. Got my union card. Moved back. And then Transformers. And then G.I. Joe. And then... And the interesting thing is, when the Muppet movie came out, I was able to do a lot of the Muppets. And Miss Piggy, that's all great. Yes. Watching the movie, I thought, ooh, I'm going to send Jim Henson a tape. In those days, you had reel-to-reel tape. So I went home and I wrote this thing called Muppets Dress Rehearsal, and it was Kermit the Frog going around with all the other Muppets, cueing them on their lines and seeing if they were ready to go. And I put this thing together and I sent it to the Muppets. Nothing. And then 5 years later, I get a call. would you be interested in coming to New York to audition for Jim Henson and Frank Oz? Yeah, I think I would. So, I had coincidentally just gotten a credit card the day before I got the call. So I maxed out that card, flew to New York, and they had 50 people. I'd never done puppets before, but they had 50 people there, and I made it to the bottom 5. 3 days of auditioning and dismissals, auditioning and dismissals. But I held the Cookie Monster on my hand and sang 99 bottles of beer on the wall, all the way down and all the way back up with Frank Oz and Jim Henson. And that I will take to the grave with a glow in my heart. And I gotta tell you, the Cookie Monster has a 9-inch sleeve for a throat. So you, or not a 9-inch, 9 foot. So you can throw a lot of cookies in that guy.
I want to hear a small snippet of 99 bottles of beer on the wall.
99 bottles of beer on the wall! 99 bottles of beer! You take one down, you pass it around. Give me another beer! Yes. Keep moving.
I'm going.
And the mouth goes. Ah. Yes, at the dentist.
So Muppets was your first?
No. Transformers was my first show.
Yeah.
G.I. Joe was my second. Another little show called, I played Tarzan. Anybody know what the name of that show was?
Visionaries.
Yes. Yeah. You have to shout louder or get a microphone. Anybody here ever see a thing called Visionaries? Yeah. Oh, that was my third show.
So how did the Transformers thing come to be then?
Well, they said they were going to have these things called Dinobots come out, and they needed somebody. They said, this is the leader of the... So just so you know, Grimlock is not the leader. Snarl is the leader. Grimlock is the show-off, and they gave him more lines. But they said, we need somebody that can do a very stern voice and then do a growl. So you never hear Grimlock growl, just yell a lot. So that was Snarl.
And the rest was talk like this. I'm curious, because obviously the Dinobots themselves have quite a distinctive vocal range. Quite limited in terms of this.
No, their vocabulary is limited.
Vocabulary.
The range is artistic. The palette is blank until I show up.
Did you ever have a Dinobot battle off in the studio or anything where you're in there with Greg Berger and the likes? And
Oh, no. When you're with Wally, and wait a minute, just for a moment, let's all say thank you to Wally Burr. Wally says, could we have that one more time with conviction? And moving on. Thank you. But no, Wally was a no-nonsense guy. My favorite story about Wally is when they brought in Orson Welles to do, of course he started off in, as playing War of the Worlds, and then his last thing was the Transformers movie, where he's a planet that devours other planets. I'm thinking he went full circle there. Well, he's in, and he's doing his reading, and Wally starts the line reading. And Orson Welles says, "You're not going to line read me, are you?" And Wally goes, "No, but could you try it?" And he line read it.
yeah, I'm not going to tell you I am. I just
No, but if you do it like
you know, the stories of Wally's sessions are legendary.
Yes, but I have to tell you, Dave, I love going to his sessions because I was brand new in Hollywood. And you go in, and you know you're going to be there for 8 hours because contractually that's how long he can keep you. And being a Dinobot, I'd be on like page 2 and then page 20. So you got 18 pages that you're sitting there for, and you're not doing anything, but you get to sit with like Scatman Crothers, Dick Gautier, who played Birdie and Bye Bye Birdie with Anne Margaret, you know, and the stories and the asides were just unbelievable. Wally had this wall in his studio that, like an idiot, he painted over. Sorry, Wally. But he had this blank wall, it was drywall, and everybody came in and signed it, and I mean everybody. And he didn't even so much as take a picture of it before he painted over it. And he had everybody that was in Hollywood marching in there, either auditioning or whatever, and everybody that walked in there signed that wall because it's a wall and it's blank and other people have signed it, so you go like, well, I'm a star too, I'm up here too. And then you had people that would write over other people, and then people that would X out people and write over them, and it was right there. It was so much fun to walk in and see who was the latest, who got crossed out, and who wrote over them. And then he came in and just painted it white. I'll bet you're sorry now, Wally.
So, you're on Transformers. You come in through season 1 with Shrapnel and Snow.
No, well, that was Dinobots. Then they came in and they wanted the Insecticons, which was after the Dinobots. And the thing that they told me about the Insecticons was, we have got this one, I don't know what he sounds like, but he repeats a word. So, Monty Python used to have this character that of course was played by a man who would sit off to the side dressed as an old hag, knitting, going, guillotine, guillotine! And I thought, oh, that's a great voice to try for this. So Shrapnel became the old lady who shouts, guillotine, and repeats a word.
Yes! A little bit more attitude.
So you're working on the first season, and it's around, as I understand it, about the middle of season 1 when the production of it, and they decided to do Transformers the movie. Now, you're in Transformers the movie with one of your characters who's having a bit of a tough time with electrons.
Yes, a little heavy on the electrons. Ooh, but that takes me back.
But Snarl wasn't.
Snarl was.
Okay.
Snarl was! No, I had lines actually as Snarl, but as the goose sometimes I wound up on the editing room floor. Along with some of the best performances of my life.
You would put that right up there with, oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Absolutely, yeah. Hey, listen. Some of the best are on the editing room floor. The best auditions are in the car on the way home.
So you did actually record dialogue.
Oh, I did record dialogue for the Dinobots, yeah. And then, I guess they wanted to speed the story along, so they there's just a flash of me.
Yeah.
Hence that last night going, I was there.
Yeah. How many times does he appear?
3.
3. Yeah. Most people think it's twice, but it's not. It's 3.
It's 3. Although it's a glimmer, he's still there.
And then one that I've got to ask you about. Predator.
Yes.
So you did the voice for Predator 2?
Yes. Predator 1 was done by Peter Cullen. And
Do we know that guy?
Yes.
Somebody's just had a massive revelation there in the second row.
at any rate, they went to Peter, and Peter said no for Predator 2. And they said, can you do Predator? And I said, I think so. Because pretty much all he did was just... And he spent one day. I spent 9 8-hour days doing Predator 2. Plus, at the end of it, you know, you got the guy who's I don't know if anybody here has seen the movie. Spoiler alert, there's a guy at the end who throws him a gun. And they said, can you create Predator speech? So I was thinking, okay, he's got kind of a crawdad for a face, a crap kind of thing. So I threw a little South African click language in there and just came up.
And that's how the Predator speaks.
And that means, thank you, I'll have another.
Right, we do have a runner around with a microphone as well, so if you do have any questions, if you want to put your hands up, and we'll try and get you as soon as we can. Actually, where is the runner? Oh, they're over there. Right, okay.
So can I tell you a story?
Go for it.
All right, did anybody here ever see the movie Total Recall with Arnold Schwarzenegger? There's a scene where he's sitting there and he's going, get your ass to Mars, get your ass to Mars. And he pulls the thing out of his nose. You remember that scene? Puts it in the candy bar. I was all the rats in that scene. The guy who comes and directs me, and if you're watching right now, guy, I'm sorry, but I'm going to embarrass you right now. He comes in and he goes, I've been thinking about this all weekend. What if the main rat was from France? What would that sound like? Yes, I had the same reaction. I said, well, do you want him cartoony or oh no, I want him real. And I'm thinking, okay, well, you know, you've got your French rat, you've got your UK rat. Naturally, they would get along, right? Yeah. And where did we will parler?
It depends how they work.
So I said to him, okay, how about, He goes, well, I'm not sure about the first part, but I like the second part. And I said, well, how about if I just play him a little higher pitched and more excited? Let's try that. And then I get a call, and they say, Hal, can you do a koala bear? Oh, of course I can do a koala bear. You never say no. That was on a Friday. And they said, okay, so Monday we need you to come in and do this movie, Fort Fairlane, with Andrew Dice Clay. And he has a pet that's a koala bear, so we want you to be a koala bear. Okay. So I call everybody I know in Hollywood. Anybody got a reference for a koala bear? No. I get up like 4:30 in the morning in California, and I call the BBC. And I say, excuse me, have you got a reference for a koala bear? No, I'm afraid I haven't got a reference, but I will tell you there's a rather nasty little buggers. Thank you. So I walk in Monday morning and they go, God, we've been waiting all weekend. What's a koala bear sound like? Well, you know, they're rather nasty little guys. So how about if we just try to make them cute and likable? Well, what would that sound like? Oh, that's perfect! So then I go to Australia with my wife about a year ago, and we go to the Quarkantas Zoo. Right! God, he's lovely! I'm gonna do everything I can to protect him. I go over to the koala bear. I've got to tell you, those buggers really stink. Oh, you don't want to scratch and sniff koala. So I'm holding this koala bear, and the guy says, Really? Yes, they carry chlamydia. Well, I feel really safe now. So if anyone wants to shake hands and rub bodies afterwards, please let me know. I had my shot. Anyway, so I digress.
I need to take it over to the audience. I compose myself.
Has anyone got a question for me? Yes.
Can you tell some stories of working on visionaries at Galaxy High?
Some stories about visionaries?
At Galaxy High.
And Galaxy High? Well, Howard Morris. Anybody know who Howard Morris is? Okay, if you ever saw Sid Caesar, Show of Shows, if you ever saw Jerry Lewis movies, Howard Morris was in it. And Howard Morris was one of my dearest friends, I am proud to say. But as a director, he was a tough man. So I'm in this room filled with, Henry Gibson, Pat Carroll, who was, Ursula in Little Mermaid, the evil witch, and all these major people from Hollywood. And I'm really nervous. And I'm doing my voice as Doyle Cleverlow, who's, after last night, I can't quite do it as well as I could because I'm a little hoarse today. But he'll stop me in the middle and go, "Hal, stop! Act better." Okay, so you just kind of roll back the tape and start again and hope you're acting better this time. Visionaries, a delightful show. We got to, it was the first thing Jim Cummings had ever done, and Jim Cummings has done quite a bit since then. Pretty much owns Disney now. We didn't know really what the show was all about. They just said, we didn't even get to see pictures of the characters. And this is so often the way it was. Like Transformers, never saw what the characters looked like. They didn't tell us. G.I. Joe, they had all this stuff, but they didn't show us what the characters were like. So we would go in there, and then we were doing these things, and when we finally saw the show, I remember talking to Michael McConaughey, and we were talking about, hey, I would have made a different choice if I'd known the character looked like that. But, hey, they chose it, so, what are you going to say? But my favorite thing about the Visionaries was that the totems, that I love the concept of it. I love the whole idea of Visionaries and the arc of the dark magic, which I found a little bit like Dark Crystal, but not necessarily a theft, just a comparison. If it had been Dark Crystal, I'd have been able to work with David Bowie, but it wasn't, so I just got to be a fan. But no, I gotta tell you, every show I've done, I have great memories, and most of them are not, they're mostly sensations. Not really something that you can, kind of, you had to be there type of thing, but also, here I was 27, 28 years old, and I'm working with all these people that are, I grew up watching on television, and they're turning to me and going, okay, your line. And I'm able to do what I said at 3 years old I wanted to do. So yeah, I have great memories of Visionaries, and Galaxy High School was so much fun. I'm actually doing a thing right now I'm writing called Galaxy Hospital that is a little bit like that, but it's more like a hospital filled with all kinds of creatures that come in from all over the galaxy. And how do you treat them? There's comedy there. There's comedy there.
And is that something you're writing and producing on your own? Or?
Well, these are things that we're creating. I'm doing a group in Denver, Colorado called the Denver Herd. And they're actors actors that I'm training on how to do animation voices, voice separation. We're going to be doing augmented reality, virtual reality, gaming, and so that's what I'm doing now, is taking what I've learned and teaching young people how to do it so that it lives on. A lot of people that I know from Hollywood kind of sit on their secrets and go to the grave with them, and I'm not going to do that. I'm writing a book on how to do multi-voice in the digital age, and where voice comes from, how to separate, how to place, and how to change your breathing patterns and things like that. Because you know, I came into all this, like I say, from a town of 1,200 where nobody, I gotta say, nobody there did other voices. I was the peculiar one. I was the class clown. I was the one that was told, you shut up and listen, or you're never gonna become anything in this world. Well, now I go back and they say, don't shut up, keep talking, and do another voice. So, like I say, if you can, come back full circle. But are there any other questions?
Yeah, we've got one here.
Yes? Spider-Man?
I'm just wondering, how did you end up involved with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and filling the characters like Raphael, or was that something you did from playing characters beforehand?
Well, Susan Blue was the director on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and she was also the star with me in Galaxy High School. And Susan called me and said, look, Rob Paulson's doing Animaniacs and his schedule conflicts. Would you be interested in taking over Raphael? Now, I wasn't called in to audition for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles when it first came around. So I said, well, let me call Rob. And I called Rob and I said, Rob, you know they're replacing you. And he said, yeah, I know, Hal. And I said, well, they'd like me to play the part. Is that okay with you? And he said, sure, go ahead and do it. Now, this doesn't happen that way all the time, but one time I got a call to be Yogi Bear, and I called up Dawes Butler and I said, Dawes, how come you're not doing Yogi Bear? And he said, well, you know, Hal, they didn't want to pay my rate. So I told him, no, I won't do Yogi Bear. Because I wasn't going to take away Dawes Butler. I mean, my God, he was the guy who created the character. But in Rob's case, he said, yeah, go ahead and do it. So once I had permission, I felt it was okay for me to do it. But normally, I don't like to steal characters from other people, especially over negotiation rights. You know, it's how we make our livelihood. He created the character, so if he gives me the blessing to do it, I'll do it. But I don't normally like to do that. I have that done a lot to me, so I know how it feels.
Got a gentleman here.
Hi. Firstly, thank you for coming to TF Nation.
Oh,
Well,
thank you.
I was in 2004, and I met Wally Bird there. He had a table, and I was there with a few friends, and one of them had a question, and it turned into a 30-minute discussion panel. My request is, do you have any more stories about Wally Bird? Because he was the master of everything.
All right, I got a story. As would happen in the sessions, Wally's behind the class. He's got the talk back off. Mics are live where we are, and they're talking. And Peter Cullen is talking with Frank Welker about nothing that has anything to do with Transformers. And I'm standing right behind Peter, microphone's in front of Peter, and Wally's telling Peter, now Peter, I want you to give me some emphasis. You're coming over a hill, you're going to get to the top of the hill, and I want a really big exertion, and rolling. And Peter, of course, hadn't heard one word Wally said. So I leaned over Peter's shoulder and I went, ugh! And Wally said, all right, moving on. Peter looked at me like, WTF?
When the agents ring up, no. When you're in the booth, steal away. Steal away. Does anybody else have any other questions? Yeah, we've got a couple down here. Oh, ladies first.
Hi, you voiced so many characters over the years. Do you have a particular favourite that you voiced, or are they all the same to you?
Well, not just because I'm here, but yeah, Shrapnel's probably one of my favorites. I like to repeat. Unfortunately, I think because of toy sales and stuff, Snarl and Shrapnel didn't get a great deal of airtime, but I think I tried to demonstrate last night that had I had airtime, there were places for them to go. And at this point, I'm just glad that I'm so thankful to all of you for having an event such as this and inviting me here after this many years. I'm luckier than, a pig in a puddle. I thank God every day for being above the grass and being able to do what I love to do. So, yeah. All right.
How do you protect your voice?
All right, when I was doing The Predator, which was, that was an excruciating job. I was using raisins, cashews, and carrots in a mixed bowl, so I could keep the phlegm up, keep my voice properly oiled. But mostly, I try to tell people when they're trying to get into the business, if it hurts, you're doing it wrong. So try to find a placement where it doesn't hurt. Either use less air, try one side of your mouth over the other side, as far as enunciation and pronunciation. And pretty much, I think just over the years, I've learned how to use the microphone, because that's really what it is. If you're working with Frank does very little. He doesn't shout. He doesn't, really exert all that much. Everything is just real close, real tight, and done really with the voice. And he's a master, and so is Peter at what they do. Everybody in the cast really was just exceptional at what they do. And I think, as you do more and more, and as they involve you in more and more, you just realize that if it hurts, slow down. The hard part is now with gaming, that's pretty much all you're doing is screaming all the time, because you never know what the gamer's decision is going to be. So you have to have pretty much any possible variation on a theme. There's an old line out of a W.C. Fields movie where he tells the woman who runs the boarding house that she can be in the play, and her line will be, "Here comes the prince." And all through the movie, she's walking through saying, "Here comes the prince. Here comes the prince. Here comes the prince." And of course, she never gets on stage. But it's like, how many different ways can you say, "Here comes the prince"? And that's a joke in Hollywood. Whenever somebody is giving you a line read, "Here comes the prince." But it's like an instrument. You learn how to protect. If you're playing a woodwind, you learn how to protect your tongue. If you're playing a horn, you learn how to protect your lungs and your throat and your lips. And it's just through practice and just constantly doing it over and over and over again until it comes out right. And I gotta tell you, it's an interesting thing. Driving down the freeway and I'm working on voices, and then all of a sudden I notice that somebody's been watching me for 3 miles. And I've been doing, you know, in my own head doing voices, and then I'm going like, oh, and they're all going like, well, there's someone with several different people in their head, and they're behind the wheel. What could possibly go wrong?
I couldn't imagine a car ride with both yourself and your wife.
Well, as my daughter said, they said, what's it like growing up with your parents? And she said, well, it's like, whose line is it anyway? 24/7, 365. Has anyone else got a question? Yes.
First of all, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Let's hear it for Hal, everyone. Come on.
It's a pleasure being had. Wait a minute.
Was there, going back to Transformers, was there any other characters that you got to audition for?
No, actually, I auditioned for 3 characters: Pipes, Shrapnel, and Snarl.
Okay. Was there
And I
any,
got 'em.
Was there any other character you would have liked to personally have done, apart from them 3?
Well, I wouldn't mind being Optimus Prime. I think that he had a lot of lines, and he did pretty well with it. I wouldn't mind being the other guy, the bad guy. He had a lot of lines, and he did pretty well with it too. No, actually, I'm just thankful for everything I had. I don't take anything away from anybody, and I got to tell you, every person that came in and the characters that they did, it really was like typecasting, because you could see, like Scatman Carruthers. Come on, he comes in and he does what he does, and we're sitting off to the side. We're outside, he's playing the harmonica and talking about jazz clubs from the 30s and 40s, and sometimes he'd bring his ukulele and play songs, and I'm sitting there with all these luminaries, that like I said, I grew up watching on television, and now I'm sitting there going, no, these are my contemporaries. I get to be like, I'm one of them. It was earth-shattering and jaw-dropping for me all at the same time. But at the same time, you had to pick up your jaw and talk, because Wally didn't have time to wait around. Only 8 hours. Yep.
I was watching Toxic Crusaders a couple of months ago, and when I watched it as a kid, I didn't remember it very well. I felt like I didn't get the joke. And then I watched it recently, and it seemed like you were kind of playing it as a comedy rather than an action TV series. Would that be right? Was it more of a kind of for laughs? Not taking it seriously, kind of acting like a comedy show.
Well, it was Toxic Crusaders. Did anyone see that? Okay, well, I played Tanta Panda, which was a takeoff, of course, on Back to the Future. And Bonehead, who was just a guy at his wit's end. And I played the Toxic Cat, and
Also, I played the head monkey lad.
and it was fun, because some of the guys that were on that show, I mean, Paul Eiding, of course, was in it, and he played No Zone. And we all spoofed it as if it was an inside joke on the joke. But they wrote for it that way too. It was one of those things where they talk about breaking the fourth wall, where you talk to the audience, and there was an awful lot of that kind of stuff in it. Yeah, it was very fun to do. And of course, Susan Blue was the director on it.
Okay, I think we've got time. Yeah, we've got time for about one more question.
So make it a long one.
Oh,
Hi there.
Well, hello there.
This one is maybe a bit obscure. I don't know how much you've been following the current career choices of Pipes, judging by last night's script reading. but do you have any thoughts on Pipes and his current portrayal, or, well, lack of now in More Than Meets the Eye in the comics?
So the question is, did I have any thoughts on Pike's current position versus his original position when I gave him a voice and now he's got a whole different dimension in comic books? Is that what I'm, more or less? I did ask for a long question, so I'll give you that.
I think perhaps we need to tell you what happened to Pipes.
Oh, I know.
Oh, yeah.
That was part of the joke last night.
Well, man, I'm doing fine.
No, let's put it this way. I'd like for him to bring him back to life. I'd love to play the part again. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, Hasbro. The name's Hal Rayle. Please bring back the Insecticons and Dinobots that talk. It'd be great. I love that they're bringing Pipes back. I love that he got killed that way. I thought it was fun that people were, they said to me last night, just so you know, you may not be aware, but Pipes is probably your most popular character now. Really? Yes, he was killed in the comic book. Really? That increases the popularity. Well, the extent you have to go to for popularity in show business. But here's all the way to Happiness Town. I'm happy for Pipes. I hope that they bring him back and he lives long and he prospers, and I hope they pick all the flowers and they all come back. Because that's the joy of it. I gotta say, the shows have changed. It was in LA, and then it was in Canada, and England, and they've got all of that, but the heart remains the same. It's not just a toy. It really is the storyline and the arc of the characters involved in it.
James, can we get Pipes back, please?
What do the people think?
Do we want Pipes back?
It'll happen.
Okay, take your word for it.
I'll be right over with my business card.
He's the man who stoned him to death.
Nice.
Right, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, hold on before we end. That chlamydia koala bear that we were talking about before.
Yes?
Never going to take it. No, not the skin.
Yes?
Did you actually sound like a koala bear then?
Not at all. You want to see something frightening? Well, not as frightening as the bonobo monkey, but for all of you familiar with the bonobo, they scream when they make love, and not in a good way. So, I think if they really wanted a koala bear, it wouldn't have gone over as well with Ford Fairlane. Although Andrew Dice Clay would have had some great jokes with it.